It being 6:38, we're a little bit late, and now we're going to start a great Norton Water Department meeting. Thank you all for viewing. We hope to entertain you with our Water Department meeting this evening.
Fancy.
What's new, Jen?
All in favor? Oh my goodness. My glasses got rain on. I'm going to jump right into the superintendent updates.
Oh boy.
Please and thank you.
Yes, sir. Start off with the good stuff. 60 West Main Street, Cumberland Farms. Still moving forward with their plans to build there, even though they're still working out that Zone 3 stipulation.
Yeah, gas station.
Gas station in
All
Zone
right.
3 is technically not allowed. They believe they have some wording that will allow it.
All right.
That's fine. So they,
Did you look at our rules and regs, or do you have a
We
chapter
have-
and verse that
it is in our rules and regs.
things
that
like
it
no
is not
gas
allowed.
stations in Zone 3, or that which feeds a Zone 2, or
Yeah, Zone 3 is what would run off into a Zone 2. That's why the stipulations are on that.
that's why we call it a Zone 3?
Same thing.
That's
Gas
the DEP
stations.
too, right?
That's a DEP regulation.
That's
Yeah.
not really a lot we can argue about that.
Right.
It's-
So
it's-
Everybody.
the map that they have is from '96, showing the zones. Now, if there was a new map that's been done, no, thank you. I don't have a copy of it as of yet. So there is a possibility that something may have changed in the zoning. I don't know. I would hate to speculate on that, but things do change. They do change the runoffs on the topical maps. So maybe they have something that we don't have. Either way, they're still looking to push forward. They've put in their application for their water service. They're requesting a 2-inch water service on that existing lot. They have a check that they sent in for the full amount for the 2-inch water service. Now, typically, in the past, when there's been an existing service to a property, they only pay the difference based on the size of the existing service. So, want to make sure that the board is on track with that and has no problems with that.
What does the
because
bank have? 3/4?
there is a 3/4 existing service. They want a 2-inch, so instead of being 10,600 for the 2, it comes down to 7,100 to pay the difference.
Is
Now,
that what they sent, or they sent the 10?
they sent the 10.6. I feel they were unaware of
All right.
the difference that the town would give them for an existing service.
Well, in fairness to them, I guess we should tell them about our reg that they didn't see, and
Right. What's been asked in the past for system upgrades like this is that the contractor disconnect the old service, shut off the corporation, remove the old service, move over, do their tap, which would have to be done by an independent contractor because we only tap up to 1 inch.
yep, a couple of feet away from the old tap, so you're in the same trench, you can get to the corp, but you're not next to the corp per se.
Exactly. Yep.
All right.
Good as-built. We have to do an inspection regardless, and that's what's been done in the past. I just want to make sure the board is happy with moving forward the same way as we have in the past.
Are they gonna sprinkle it?
That is not going to be a sprinkled building. They're going to be undersized so that they're not required to. So that's number
They got
one.
enough soda and milk, the soda and milk will put the fire out.
Yes, it may.
99 cents.
All right.
Cheap money.
This is why I come, Mr. Bishop. Cookies and jokes. The rest of it is getting a little.
All right, so we on board with that there? I can give them a notification on that? Okay, very good. Number 2. This is gonna have to go back in your memory banks a little bit. Back in 2013, I don't know if anybody was on the board back then or not, or remembers any of this story. North Cottage came before the board to ask for a reduction or an elimination of tie-in fees for a sprinkler line. The
Yep.
board denied the reduction or no charge, and stated that obviously we know you're a not-for-profit. We still have to,
Register on.
pay our bills. It's unfortunate, I'm sorry, so that moved on. Larry come before the board again from North Cottage, explained the situation that was going on and that he was going to be putting a sprinkler in, I believe, what is 75 and a half, which was the old
Another
doctor's
building.
house down out back.
Yep.
The board at the time decided to put a stay, let me see if I can word this exactly how it was here. 2013 Board of Water Sewer Commissioners granted a stay of fees until such time they implemented a new fee structure with the agreement to back charge you accordingly.
Yep.
at their public meeting, July 13, 2016. The annual sprinkler fee was voted into effect. Rose Melito was directed to, I believe, hand out notices to North Cottage and all the other buildings that were involved that had sprinklers.
They're one of, I don't know, 12 or 20, or
Yep.
quite a few, including the schools. Everybody got one of them.
Right.
I think I was on the board. It was Diane was chair, and maybe Wiseman was on the board.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. So, after speaking with Mr. Salvo, who is looking to sprinkle 2 of the remaining buildings that don't have sprinklers currently, digging back through the paperwork, this was found, and it still appears that they never did pay the connection fee for the service line, the permit fee, and it comes out to a total of $31,750.
Okay.
So I reached out to North Cottage, the new person that took over Larry's spot, his name is Jeremiah, explained the situation. He was very knowledgeable, he understood, he was there at the time when this was going on. He believes there was a misunderstanding that come up. He approached the board when he finally took over leadership role of that, and felt that they should pay the $31,000. They had the money available. They didn't want to have any disruption later on down the line, knowing that there's other projects that are going to be moving forward. Their board agreed to it. He called Rose here at the office, and this is where the confusion, I believe, set in. Asked, does North Cottage have any outstanding water bills? Rose, answering the question, looked on the screen, found that no, the water bills are up to date. Because this is not going to be reflected on the
No.
billing on the computer,
this is,
it's totally separate.
yeah,
So I think that's where the confusion set in.
right.
They were under the understanding.
Because if you asked Rose if we need to pay a sprinkler tie-in fee, she'd be like, bring me a check.
Right, exactly.
I know her.
Right,
She's
exactly.
very good about
Yep.
collecting those.
Yeah, the question was asked to her in a certain way. She
Yeah.
answered the question that was asked. It
Well,
wasn't pertaining to the
yeah.
situation. So that's where the error, I believe, happened.
So now I'm feeling they don't want to pay their 31 and change for the,
He was not against paying
All right.
it. He just wants to make sure that everybody is on the same page
What's
and
up?
that
All right.
fees weren't waived because it's going on so long. Anything like that. I
No.
explained to him that we're going to have a stay on the property with any other work being done until this is rectified one way or the other.
yeah.
He understood, but he also would like to move forward as quickly as possible. I said, in the worst case, I said the board may want to hear your side of the story. I said, if I can't explain it to them properly tonight, I said, but the decision may be made tonight, and I told him I would follow back up with him
I
tomorrow.
remember a whole bunch of back and forth, and they were literally the nonprofit. It's a good operation.
Mhm.
I'm totally, personally, fully in support of what they do, as I am with the schools and town hall and everybody else. But
Right, we still have to
unfortunately, the
pay our
sprinkler
bills.
requires extra main sizes, pressure concerns, multiple situations. You've got to try to prepare for a multiple, 3 fires in remote portions of town that the sprinklers need to have the pressure to extinguish the fire, so everybody pays their sprinkler fee.
Right.
And we told that to them,
Mhm.
whoever came as a group from the board, 13, and there was a couple of swings. It was 13, maybe 2015.
Yep, and 16.
In 16, yeah.
exactly.
Now that's a little more recent,
Yeah.
so I can visualize that conversation, and we said in no uncertain terms that they would be paying whatever fees are due.
Right, yeah.
Just to clarify,
Yes.
because I remember being here for that.
Right.
My recollection was this. The previous sprinkler fees that you guys had in place were significant.
Mhm.
They were one-time fees, and they were as high as any fees we've ever seen for sprinklers. One time, you pay and you're done. They came in, wanted to do the sprinklers, or bought a new building maybe, or added a building.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. They added
I think
something.
Wheaton, I can't say gave them a building, but they made a deal where they picked up a building which wasn't sprinklered from Wheaton.
Correct. And so they were ready to put the sprinklers in, and the commission at the time said, we are working on a new annual sprinkler fee. So you won't be charged that one big lump sum fee, but you will be charged the annual fee going forward.
Right.
And that's what they opted to do, and that was the understanding that when that fee structure was in place, they would pay the annual fees for the sprinklers.
Yeah.
So rather
Based on
than
the
one
riser
big,
sides?
Yeah.
huge amount of, I wanna say, it was a lot of
It
money.
was 50 or 60 grand, I think.
It was
It
big.
was crazy.
Yeah, it was very, very big. In
But,
fact, one of the
and-
reasons you guys did that, I remember, was that there were complaints from the Hill that basically development wasn't coming to the town.
Prohibitive.
Sometimes in part
Yeah.
because the fees were so high.
Yep.
So that's why you went
So-
to the annual fee.
Yep, so I see, again, because I sat on that one as well in 2015, I can see how they may have misconstrued that as, don't pay a fee now, into, oh, we don't know a fee, we're good. Because everybody's perception of a discussion is different.
Sure.
So,
Different personnel.
yep, so
Right, there's been
I get-
changes along the way, it's unfortunate, but.
I get how they might have
I remember this discussion too.
misconstrued that.
I think I was on the board with this
Yep.
discussion went on.
So,
Okay.
everybody pays,
Mhm.
and
Right.
they're welcome to pay and do as they see fit.
Sure. The other question, which Mr. Salvo, after explaining this to him in brief discussion, he didn't feel was necessary for him to come tonight, is for the two buildings out front that he is looking to add sprinklers to. The building, I believe, 69 and 69 and a half, if we look at our maps, even though the numbers aren't always the same. Look at. The question that Bob had proposed was, could he do a single larger line coming in off of Main Street, off the 16, and tee off to feed both buildings because of the existing underground utilities that are in that area? It's against our
One more
rules and
time for everybody in the
regulations.
back.
You were having a cookie.
Well,
You weren't paying
I was
attention.
obtaining a cookie. The having
Okay.
is easy. I can eat and listen. The obtaining was confusing me.
Sure. The question on the board is, our rules and regulations state a separate domestic and a separate fire line for each dwelling. Bob
Alright.
would like to know if there could be an exception to the rule by installing one larger line off of our 16-inch main, run up into the property and tee off with valves and PIVs, everything that's required to feed the two buildings that need to be sprinkled now. There are some restrictions in the ground with other utilities out of there which are limiting, plus the trees, the driveway. You know the site. It's a difficult site to navigate depending on the size of pipe you have to install.
Was he got a dog house and a walk or something in the way? What is he talking about?
This is just a question that he was gonna raise to the
Oh, there's a
board.
bunch of salad up there, I know.
Mhm.
A lot of stuff. Well,
You know, again, it's in our rules and regs.
what would be your initial reaction to that question?
If I didn't read the rules and regs, I would say it doesn't sound like a bad idea. If you have a large enough main to meet the flow and it's valved off correctly that you could shut off each building independently, that's fine. But we've held to our rules and regulations before for different matters. They are there for a reason. Somebody wiser than I have put that in place, and I would think that we should probably adhere to them.
How much room does he have to, I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff on the ground, but does he have enough room to maybe, I don't know if this is even financially smart, but loop the main, bring a main in and kind of loop it around with a five gate cluster?
I don't think he has that type of options there because of the existing structures that are there. There's some
Because if you could
underground
do that,
bank work
then you
that's
could
there.
run, then you could run your, you know, your separate lines off of that.
Mhm.
Kind of just
Right, no,
spitballing
yeah,
really more
right.
than anything. I just
Yeah,
doesn't sound like there's room for it. no.
looking at the site, understanding a little bit what goes on as far as excavation, it is doable. You know, you may have to remove a tree or two, which isn't the end of the world. They're not anything
think of
fancy.
water
They're not
quality, too.
100-year-old trees.
You think of water quality too, it's gonna be another flush point.
Well, this is a fire line. This isn't.
No, I
flush.
know that, but if you're just bringing one line in,
Mhm.
and then you're gonna wire it off, and you're also gonna run the potable water off of
No,
that?
no, no, no. Just
Oh, I
fire.
thought you
This-
said
no,
this
no.
is just
Spring-
fire?
No, no.
These are two, what I'm understanding is two buildings currently served by domestic.
Yes.
That they are upgrading to sprinkler.
Adding sprinkler to existing buildings, yeah.
Right,
I
so that-
referenced, I think I confused you, I referenced our regulations that there's a separate
Easy-
domestic and a
easy
separate
to-
fire.
Okay, I thought it was,
Yeah.
I thought they were running potable off
No,
that
no.
single line, okay, all right, well then,
Uh,
that's,
You know, I believe it can be done.
It's not horrible.
There will be a little bit more work involved. And obviously, the additional cost would be involved for the two tie-in connection fees as opposed to the one, which that may have been what the cost savings was all about.
Yep.
There's a cost for tapping the main, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah, there's a-
it'd be a one larger one versus two smaller.
Right.
So they'd be avoiding maybe some money
There may
because
be
of that.
a small savings involved,
Yeah,
especially with road repair. You know,
Yeah.
that would be the only major benefit I could see to that. Obviously, there's, you know, some ease of digging with the other utilities that are in the ground there, but
It seems, at the risk of being logical, it seems somewhat logical to run one main in, and it seems to me that, I guess I should ask, are the two buildings closer to each other than they are the main? You know, you're not doing
Right,
80
right.
feet or 100 feet to a building and 200 feet to a building when that other building is only 80 feet from a main, you know what I mean?
right. One
Are they
building,
closer to each other than the main that they'll be tapping?
I would say very similar.
Same game?
Yeah, one building is closer to the road than the other.
Yeah, so you go to that one and then head off towards the other one.
Right.
I mean, if you're, I guess this is why we have our decision-making ability as a board, I guess.
Right.
I'm just talking, I don't know.
Sure.
Everybody else has to chime in, but,
So where the fire department weigh in?
The fire department will have to be involved to make sure that they're up to speed with it, and make sure that, I don't know if they're gonna require a flow test to be done to determine calculations on what's needed there. It's not gonna be a pump system, it's gonna be a pressure system off of this the town pressure, which there is more than enough pressure there, there's more than enough volume there, but, you know.
Their engineers may require that anyways.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
Fran?
Yeah, they're gonna have shut-offs, so each individual one could be shut off, and
Exactly.
not
yeah.
both.
They're gonna come up with allegedly a T-assembly, two
bang,
valves
yeah,
there.
bang, bang, and then go to
Yeah,
the building.
to the building, most likely PIVs outside of the building
Right.
before it breaks through the foundation wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't sound unreasonable.
I don't know.
I don't have any problem with that.
I think, again,
That's-
I think
that's
You know,
actually-
certain circumstances
No.
warrant
Consider
changes.
The fire department agreeing, but yeah.
Mhm.
I think the fire department is, that's something we need to
Right. Feel what
give a
their
little bit
thoughts
of
are.
time
Sure.
to, but,
Okay.
as a structural or a infrastructure issue, it seems to make sense, and it just,
They're talking 6-inch lines to each building?
That hasn't been determined yet. The other buildings that are out there have a 6-inch to feed them, and it goes down to a 4 when it comes inside for the sprinkler. So I would assume this one, at a minimum, is gonna be a 6. It may be an 8, where you're gonna have to divide it into 2 separate buildings
Right.
to be able to divide the flow. Again, that's somebody wiser than I that will come up with that calculation.
yeah. The problem I'm coming up with, though, as I sit here and play this back, so let's just say we have a certain institution of higher learning in the town, which also has multiple buildings and may have another building. Would they be somehow harmed by the requirement to run another main and perhaps pay an extra tie-in fee when another somewhat,
It's all hypothetical, right?
just in case somebody shows up like that? You know, another institution that we, as humans and residents, would like to see do well. It's kind of a tough one, isn't it?
It's
So they're gonna have buildings. The institution of higher learning, they will have buildings that are closer to the buildings with sprinklers that would jump into that one than they are the road. So my initial question doesn't hold a lot of water, no pun intended, and I now have to think that if we have rules and regs, I guess that's why we have rules and regs.
That's what I fell back on. You know, again, that they've been in place for a while, and
Yeah.
I'm
Do you know
sure.
when they were written and why at the time? I
And
mean,
all
does it
this
still
other-
apply?
Huh?
All this other industry that's coming in, I mean, is that gonna bite us, going forward with that?
Mhm.
Or any other instance?
You know what I mean? So I guess,
I mean, in theory, it makes sense, but in the long run, in the grand scheme of things, this could be
yep,
a detriment to our department,
could with
potentially. Yeah.
yeah, hindsight really not be helping us. So I like now what Steve said initially was they're gonna do 2 taps, one for each building, and maybe loop them. So because we all know, but I wanna tell the people at home that I like the flow concept of the 5 gate valves and the sprinkler line actually having
I think the fire department would like that too.
flow, because that's stagnant water that creates issues for us during our flushing time, so. Further consideration says, we would like to help you out with 1 tap and 1 fee, but the rules and regs are the rules and regs for a reason.
Is this something you would want them to just put something in writing to you describing exactly what they want to do?
We need, right, we
That would
need,
be worthwhile.
yeah,
I
we
think
need
it's
to
running
see,
a-
it doesn't have to be a super plan, but
No.
it's gotta be a A to
Something.
B,
Just
B
a
to
better
C.
understanding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, we'll call it an envelope plan or some sketch of valves and locations, and that will be circulated between Frank and the, whomever, captain, and lieutenant in the fire department who deals with sprinklers and whatnot.
Well, it
take it-
seems to make some
we'll
sense, so
take
you
it
actually know
around.
what you're looking at.
Yeah,
And they took them to.
Right, right, just to see it on paper,
yeah.
sometimes
Especially if we're gonna change
it makes things a little bit easier.
the reg, or how we apply it going forward,
Yeah.
one of the past precedent issues after this. So.
Help you make that decision too.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we can. Maybe it's worth a vote.
I mean, I can reach out to Mr. Salvo and explain him the situation, see what his thoughts are as a contractor, and he knows the site very well,
Yeah.
to see if there is anything else that may hinder a loop there, as opposed to 2 separate feeds, which would normally be required. And I'm sure he could draw up, some type of plan with an overlay of the existing buildings to
Right.
show just what may or may not hinder the project being able to be looped, or if it's perfectly fine and makes it
Right.
easier for him. Like I said, he was ready to attend this meeting tonight, and because of the other first issue we talked about here with the past due money,
Yeah.
after talking to him, it just wasn't necessary to show up until we can solve this issue,
Yeah.
because we have a stay on the property until we
Okay.
figure out what's going on here.
Well, let's go at it that way. Once the sprinkler fee is handled, at the suggestion or recommendation of the board for the looping, however it's done,
Sure.
we'll revisit it.
Excellent. Were you gonna talk about the change in the letter that was requested from the Commonwealth of the wording?
I mean, those very, very
Those 2
detailed,
words that they
very-
wanted changed?
Very extensive, yeah, I don't think we need to talk too much about it.
Doesn't seem
We'll
like
just
something
make-
super
We'll
important.
make we've been waiting 6 months,
Yeah.
a year, whatever.
What's that for?
This is, you have a draft memorandum of agreement between the town and Mass Historic Commission dealing with the water treatment plant site and the deed restrictions that they're looking for to protect certain parts of that property so that nothing will be done. And they wanted it, one of the deals is they, as far as their approval was, they want a deed restriction. And they want it on the deed so that those specific areas are protected. A draft of that was provided, I don't know, at least 6 months ago.
I think so.
Maybe more. And they've finally gotten back to the commission, and Frank got a letter, and there was a typo. That's all they were looking to change, nothing else. Everything's fine. And if if your eyesight was like
Which-
mine, it looked like the right letter.
Which one of you guys put out with a typo?
I
I
know,
mean,
guys, no, but now I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. It was Barbara.
It was Barbara. Well, guys is a more general.
I know, yeah, it was just a
Which one of the
generic.
staff?
Right, it was Barbara. But if you
So,
looked at
Madam
it,
Presidente,
Yes.
wait till we see her.
yeah, I
That's
think
why
you
she didn't
should.
come tonight.
That was the thing.
She saw her
The
coming.
word was out. They're gunning for
But
it.
if you're to look closely, the letters together look like it was correct, real quickly. So yeah, it took the state 6 or 8 months to figure out that 2 words was really
They
one.
really read it.
Right.
And does it
They read
really,
it backwards.
does it change things?
Does it expand the area?
No.
No. I didn't think so.
It's just the way they want it, so we'll give it to them.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Couple other small updates, and then I'm done. Well 4 is back online after cleaning. We had very good results with the external screen cleaning. We started off there, we were pinched off at 200 gallons a minute and 11.2 gallons per foot. After cleaning, we have 34.7 gallons per foot, and we are running conservatively at 350 gallons a minute now. With
Nice.
the potential,
Almost double.
in the short term, we could probably push 500 or 600 out of that, but we don't know the effects it's gonna have on the gravel pack.
Yep.
By putting that well back online after.
What's it
getting-
rated for? Is it rated for 5?
It was rated for 5.
Yep.
We could get that and more out of it, it's just gonna be for how long, that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
concern.
We'll need that though when it's not.
Is there a butt?
Right, what's that?
Is there a butt?
There is a but.
Oh, yeah.
After going back online and getting, even though it's only a measly 150 gallons more per minute, it created a disruption in the system, so we did have to flush some to waste. It just shows how
Well, we got it
sensitive
to
the
flush,
system
So it come
is.
out and we just.
Right, it went right back
Let's
into the
connect into the
river.
aquifer.
Exactly.
We're gonna see, we're gonna see it all again.
Right, and
But that's good news though, that's.
it's very
that's
good
great.
news.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's
very,
great news.
very promising.
Are
that,
you sleeping a little bit better? Because I know you were worried about
A little
that.
bit, a
All
little
right.
bit. It's nice to know that we have some water there to replace what we're not
Yeah.
getting out of the ground at well 5.
Yep.
There's still gonna be some talk back and forth about when and if we can take well 6 offline for cleaning. The cleaner recommended, and I should say highly recommended, to do some more surging and some more chemical cleaning when we do take 4 offline prior to installing the low head pump.
Does he have to mobilize to do that?
He will have to mobilize to do that, but figuring that he's already gonna be there and we pay the mobilization fee, 3 or 4 more days of developing, you may gain a little bit more than what we currently have now. You know, we've taken away probably 15 or 20 years worth of buildup on the outside of the screen, which we never had the option to do before.
Right.
And that's where we came back
No,
to
that's
this.
awesome. I
So-
mean, hey, if that's all it takes is another mold fee, let's keep them molding.
Right,
And we
right,
get
keep,
double production from the wells, go.
right, keep them moving around and.
Just keep it drilling another well.
Oh, it is.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's really good news for him.
As a backup, which we've run into an issue before by going too long on cleaning the center tank,
Yeah.
which is the one behind the historical building there and Council on Aging. That's 376,000 gallon tank. The inflow on that is actually pretty shallow. So we've gone the recommended 2-3 year cleaning schedule before and found we had 40 inches of sediment in the bottom of it, which was above the intake. So
Whoa.
when you'd have the water come in, you'd have the dirty water come back out. That was part of our issue that we were having in the center of town.
God.
So we've stepped that up to an annual cleaning, and we have a set rate. It's right around $5,000 for removing 4 inches of sediment.
Oh, it might not, it's not gonna be a permanent annual thing though.
It will not, once the plant goes online and we do our strategic flushing, we
Yep.
should be able to lengthen the cleaning on that, but I'd rather stay proactive
Oh,
on
well,
that.
great.
This is the most you get out of it with an.
No, he's
No,
just saying it's
that's-
5,000 for 4 inches, so.
That's what the
at
estimate
40,
was.
are they gonna do
It's
50,000?
after they reach the contract agreement for the 4-inch, they charge you by the hour. It's $5.75 per
Who's
hour
this?
after that. I'm
Do
sure
you
I
have the
don't
same
have it
company or
here.
do you bid it out?
I have the name here. It is a company we've used in the past. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Aqua Store tank. Huh? I could get it for you. I'm sure I don't have it on this paper here. This was just a copy.
That's not-
Underwater Solutions.
Seems
Do you guys
appropriate.
use them? Right?
Yep.
Yeah, we've actually,
Okay. We've used them in the past. We've had very good luck with them. You know, never had a sample come back bad after having divers and all the equipment in the tanks. They're very thorough
Right.
with their process and with their cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So that is scheduled for July 8th.
What do you,
so they don't have to take, they gotta take down the tank?
Take-
They emptying it?
It depends on what they require. Usually we fill the tank to the top, so it's easier for the diver to
Yeah.
enter and exit.
yes.
They'll pump what they have to waste with they'll have their escape ladder and everything there. Then we sample the tank and put it back online afterwards. It's quite the process, and it's
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
to see the amount of debris
Fascinating.
that you get out.
Yep.
And but in the past, I don't know if this is included or not. In the past, they've actually sent the camera in and taken some still shots and some video
Yep.
to show the buildup on the bottom with a measuring stick and the wall.
We know what's there for.
Right, we know it's there. That's fine.
Yep.
Not a big deal.
And especially in preparation for the coming
Right, it's just one more
plan,
step.
scour it. I don't know if there's a,
Start off clean, yeah.
Right.
yeah, whatever they can do.
Right, everything we can do
If
is
they
gonna
can
help.
agitate the sides, the
Mhm.
base, wherever that
Yeah.
sediment has gotten in the
Right.
crevices,
Right, and get rid of it.
get those divers with some brushes.
Exactly. Let's see, what do I got here?
What about the Deep? You remember that movie, The Deep? They had that vacuum thing, they were getting all the ampules.
Yes, yeah,
Nick
that's
Nolte.
very similar to what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I want the one with the, you know, the, what do they do in Louisiana? They have a dredge. I want
Right,
I
right.
want the vacuum with the dredge head.
the hydrojet.
Yeah.
Sure, yep. Yeah.
That's what we got, the nylon brush, the
Right.
ridge,
Oh.
the good one.
One last thing.
We'll get it on Amazon.
I bet we could.
I bet they have it.
This person reached out to me through the town email. I know I had asked, I think, Fran and Barbara before, there was some questions about what size generator was going in down the treatment plant. And somehow, this company or this gentleman believes that he could generate money for the town by somehow utilizing that generator for certain during off-peak hours of run. And I don't know if it's true or not. I asked him before if he'd be interested in coming before the board and explaining what he's offering here and how it can generate this type of revenue. There's some of the numbers that are on here. They're pretty substantial. If
Does he have a submittal or anything? Is it just?
he just reached out to me. I believe I received this email through Mike Units at one point, and you know, there's a 400 kW generator that's going to go in down the treatment plant. Oh yeah, it's big.
So
Yes, it lights up that end of town.
is he proposing to use the generator for other purposes?
I
or-
believe that's what they're looking to do.
Back on the grid.
Whether it's to backfeed the grid or
Have you
not,
seen this
no.
before?
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good
You want
idea?
the fuel? It's, you're buying
I haven't
that?
seen it before, and I don't.
I think you gotta see what the dollars,
Yeah.
how the dollars
Right.
work,
Yeah.
rather than say, yeah, we need to do it. I think you need to look at, because obviously it's just also wear and tear on the generator.
Right,
That's-
it's
that's
just,
what
it's
worries
added.
me.
Well, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
If, as a owner of equipment and handler and manager of equipment, the equipment is meant to run.
Mhm.
And I know this thing probably starts and stops.
Right, it probably
every
doesn't,
week.
it probably doesn't
It's gonna run every
transfer
week.
under load, and that was the problem that happened at one of the other larger facilities in town many, many years back. They used to exercise all the time, but it never ran under load. When it came
Really?
time to run under load,
Yeah,
it couldn't run under load. They
Yeah.
had a poor guy sitting on top of this generator, holding the throttle open to run certain pumps that didn't want to run because the generator wasn't running at the right RPMs.
yeah.
Wow.
So it's gotta do what it's supposed to
Run the
do.
load.
Mhm.
Load the one.
So
Exactly.
I'm not opposed to at least hearing what he has to
I'm not
say.
either. I'd like to hear
Because the other game is, if his, I'll call it exercise or actuation and or use and rental payment, whatever the town can generate from that, comes in and we have to buy a generator only a little bit sooner than we arguably would anyway, we have had revenue from an asset that we
To
have,
offset that cost.
I'm good with it. Run it, run it.
Right, it
Set
doesn't.
it up and run it.
It doesn't sound bad. I would like to hear more about it. I
We
just want to
will
make
need
sure.
attenuation. I want, or I need him or somebody to look into the quiet operation of said generator. I don't want people from the area saying, yeah,
Right.
there's a helicopter taking off behind me,
Right.
it happens to be a
It's
generator.
fueling and shooters, and we install the fuel there and all that.
That is a natural gas
Yeah,
generator that
that's-
has continuous feed from the
Yeah,
street.
That's been run in, right?
Not yet.
They did, okay.
That would be
They
the
got
last
They got
thing
the
to go in.
permission.
It's,
You
it
should know
has,
the Conservation had their pound of flesh. You weren't there.
But that was the one that we just did a month ago.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just kicked him in the room.
Oh, yeah, all right. Penalty box.
Yeah, I was allowed in there.
But yeah, if
Right.
we've got it, and that's even more, I think, important for that size item to run and
You would think.
an exercise or actuate or whatever you're gonna call that, but the attenuation is critical. It's gotta have a nice enclosure
Mhm.
and some muffled exhaust.
Right.
It's gotta have that anyway.
It's gonna have anyway.
Right.
But
Everything.
if you're gonna run it extended periods.
Long periods of time
yeah,
versus an hour.
It's gotta be really, we need some.
Right. Right.
We've
The
got a couple
attendant.
of enclosures if you want to take a look at them.
Yeah, I don't know what is proposed for this and where its location is in looking at
Doesn't
an
matter.
aerial map.
There are
But you're
houses-
gonna hear,
Like, there are
especially,
houses everywhere.
It'll carry,
It's
it's gonna carry.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have one that's actually right on West Street, Albertini Wells, and this house is right across the street, and it's in a big. It looks like it just looks like a you know, a box, a big box, metal box, and you can't hear this thing from the street.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I would assume being as
You have
new
to
as
have
this is
something
gonna
like
be,
that back there.
it's gonna be relatively quiet, even for the size.
Right.
You know, they have, even down at Well 3, our newer generator there, that has the fancy catalytic converter exhaust on it, which is crazy money.
Oh, yeah?
You can't hear that thing run.
Good.
You can
All right.
stand next to it
Yeah.
and you hear a fan, that's what you
Wind.
hear.
I hear you. It's like the,
Right.
yeah.
I'd definitely be interested. Those
I think it'd be
numbers are,
worth
Hearing about
those
it.
numbers
hearing
are
about
crazy
it.
enough not to look into
Right.
it.
I mean, the numbers that he has there are pretty substantial.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if they come anywhere near that, but if you
We'll
like,
build
I
another
would,
plant in a couple of years.
I would reach out and see if you
Well,
can,
hey,
well,
say what you
Thought about
want.
savings plan for the.
How do you define company?
Dollars a
Let's get to
dollar.
this one first.
right. Right. Yeah, I'll reach out
We'll
and,
kick it up a couple of kilowatts and really go.
right.
Is this, and not to be a killjoy here, but is this something you'd have to do some kind of a procurement thing or put it out, or is it something
Yeah.
you'd have to make sure that as far as cutting a deal?
Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
town
Right.
facility?
Signed in for
Gotta
30
be-
years of service.
Exactly, you
Yeah,
might have to do
You're
that.
right. No, thank you for that.
Yeah.
We don't want to.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look forward.
You know, this was the first I've ever heard of it, so I'm glad to know that you do know that this does happen.
Oh, it happens.
Yeah, so,
That's wild.
Mm.
That is wild.
That's never been posed to us.
Because, you know, as far as peak demands.
Mansfield, I mean,
That's,
they never lose power
Spilling
with
from
it.
the, yeah. Who wants some?
You guys never lose power anyway, what's the matter?
Right. Power's not an issue over there.
Last thing, the water restrictions notice has gone out. It went, it's posted on the town bulletin board out front of the town hall. We put it, town hall here. I believe the library has it, it's also on our webpage. We had a few weekends that we were flatlined on the tanks for 10 to 12 hours
Right.
prior to this small increase that we have now at well 4, so
Did we
that we'll
police?
see.
did we?
We did not police. We were watching the skater. The
Yep.
person that was on call had me on speed dial just in case we
Yep.
started trending the other way. We didn't have to use any of our storage. We were able to maintain. And I feel moving forward, we probably will have to start enforcing and policing as we get.
Do we have a fine system or something that
We do.
we can?
It's still in place from the previous times that were there. I believe last time we voted that instead of having an initial fine as the first offense, it's gonna be a verbal. We'll keep a record of it, so that way if there's a different technician that goes out, they're not continuously giving the same household
A
verbal
You're
warnings.
still gonna give them a piece of paper
We can give
saying
them,
it?
yeah, we
should
have,
probably.
right,
yeah.
we can do that. That way we have a record of it. Hopefully we get a
And
signature.
the homeowners will just have an understanding of where we're going.
Exactly. You know, we'll give them the information, the link to the website, the listing of the rule regulation there if they don't understand it or didn't believe it was in place. So they can do their homework and see that it's been there for a long period of time.
Is it worth throwing the signboards up on the heavily traveled roads?
We have one signboard up.
Okay.
The other signboard actually was damaged while it was out during the flushing program.
Oh, yeah.
We are waiting till after July 1 to tow that down to road safe to get it looked at to see just what's involved with doing
Alright,
repairs on
cool.
that.
What, did someone hit it?
The board went out, whether
Oh.
something got thrown at it or not. Those are the big, large glass pixel boards
Yep. Oh, boy.
that are on there, so you can't just replace a bulb. It's gotta go and get programmed, and
Tech is one.
it's tech, exactly. It's
Tech,
unfortunate.
How many do we have? Do we own two?
We have two.
Oh.
Yep. The question I wanted to ask for the board, I know in the past Scott was able to do the reverse call.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something we should do or wait until we are looking that we're in a worse condition than we are now, or should we give, if you guys approve, an advance notice to try and head it off before we get to a critical? I don't know if that warrants that type of information going out on that call, or if it's gonna create more problem than good. Some people enjoyed getting that call and text, and other people absolutely hated it, so I don't know how they would feel
Well,
about this.
I'm not concerned about people not wanting to answer their phone. We all have phones that don't ring. I know I have them. I shouldn't say that. Phones we don't answer.
Right, when they ring.
Yeah,
When they ring.
right. Nobody needs landlines anymore, so anybody calling on the landline is a problem. What do you got, Bish?
He's got a landline.
Okay, only?
I got that big gray one with the antenna.
Yes!
From Night
That's
of the Roxbury.
awesome. Like Magnum in the 308.
Precisely.
Right, Ben?
The old, yeah, that's awesome. Um,
Just notifying that we're gonna start with the warnings.
Well, I mean,
it's better to get, let's go back through it.
mhm.
As a water user, would I rather have the information that says, hey, you should stop watering your lawn, as opposed to some guy in a town truck saying, hey, shut your sprinkler off, it may be a gruff tone.
Right.
I'm hoping they go out with the right intent and trying to educate the public, but,
Yeah.
information is power.
I
If,
agree with that.
if we share the power,
Yeah. I'll go there.
we're communicating that we're entering our drought season,
Mhm.
and although we have a good result with that well, the other ones are not cleaned yet and may be different results. But
Yeah, just to ask them to limit the outside water use, and, I mean, I guess, to keep it short and sweet, that would be the easiest thing to do, and, I mean, if we really wanted to, we would reference the article that it's a town bylaw or in the rules and regulations.
Do you have phases of a ban?
We have not had anything like that in place since I've been
green,
here.
yellow, red,
Well, just saying phase one would be, handheld hose only.
yeah.
Well,
Phase two would be no outside watering at all, or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
however we want,
Yeah.
We have never
It might
had,
be-
You guys handheld,
we've
held
always,
those anyway.
right, we've always had no sprinklers at all.
Right.
in
Right.
it, no irrigation systems, it's always been handheld only. If it's gotten to a critical time, we would go out and enforce and ask the public, to cut back on their outside water
Do they get a
usage.
pass for new construction or?
And then we haven't given pass for anything other than a garden, believe it or not.
Come on!
Dwayne
A-
allowed a garden,
A garden?
yes.
That old nap.
You gotta eat.
Really?
A
Right.
garden.
Right.
Well, then that,
Just
people are gonna
says
throw some
feed,
cucumber
spoon.
seeds around and water the bag out of their lawn.
Right, I mean, if they wanted to stand out
I
there for
didn't say
hours
that.
with
They
a
missed.
handheld hose,
They
Yeah.
just missed it.
it was fine.
I keep trying to get that sprinkler to hit the garden.
Not the
but-
sprinkler, the
No, no
handheld.
sprinkler, it's gotta be a hose.
It's a handhold.
Oh, it's gotta be
Hose
handheld.
only,
Handheld sprinkler.
nothing automatic,
Ah, good.
nothing
all right.
automatic, so
All
if you
right.
wanted to stand there for hours, you could do that.
All right, now I got you. I thought the pass was
No, no
Well,
sprinklers,
no,
no, no.
whatever you want. Because nap, I mean, anything's possible.
Right,
Or new nap.
so, I'm sure somebody come up with some better wording than I can to, keep that short and sweet. If you're able to put that on, now we just gotta pick the best time to implement it. What is a good time of day that it's not gonna offend too many people and still get the message out?
The time you get the least calls.
10 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning.
I just think people need to understand the severity of
Right,
where
I
we're
mean,
at.
many other towns are in
Already.
the same situation, many other towns have different phases of bans. Norton's been very fortunate and hasn't had to implement anything for a very long time.
No, we all agree this is very serious. We are often very lighthearted here to make things a little more enjoyable in our dry subject matter that we run. But, yeah, this is, you like that?
That was nice. Just slip that in there.
This is very serious, and it's critical for our water system and the coming treatment plant. So I guess as informative and educational, if we can just,
Sure.
whatever
Do that.
whatever you can come up
Yeah,
with.
put something out there.
Cool.
And speaking of water, I heard back that the mayor of Attleboro is on board with selling Norton Water, if need be. I have not seen anything in writing or any correspondence from them at all, other than the conversation that I've had with the superintendent in Attleboro. So there is a possibility there that we have
To expound upon that, I
Yeah.
did talk to
the
Kevin
previous
Dumas,
mayor.
yep. And he says he remembers talking about it, but no agreement was ever struck.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and he was actually talking Slater Street.
Mhm.
That was the connection that was in, that's what he remembered.
Okay.
That was the one that he was,
Right, yeah, that was used at one point, like I said, to feed them for their bridge construction that they had after
Okay.
the heavy rains. They lost a bridge and a pipe, so that side of town had to be isolated. We fed them for a short while.
Yeah.
Again, we've never exercised the one up on our Old Colony Road, so that would be something we would look forward to meeting with having the two departments meet, figure out the best time and scenario to operate those valves and,
Yep.
and do some flushing probably both ways.
Yeah.
In the event we do need that, it would be, ready to go, or at least in a better fashion, that it would be a simple means of
What
switching.
is their source of the aquifer?
They have groundwater,
Okay.
so there would
Attleboro
be,
does?
Hmm?
Attleboro has groundwater?
surface
Yeah,
water,
surface, right,
sorry,
yeah.
yep, my mistake,
Yeah,
surface
that's
water, you're
75,
correct.
right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so-
big,
Yeah,
the
Yep.
the big
mechanics
reservoir.
pond, not mechanics pond, that big Manchester, Lake Manchester, or
Right,
whatever
right.
it's called,
Yeah,
or whatever.
You're
it's-
correct,
All
yeah,
source
we're,
of
we're
water
two
for the city?
opposite sources.
Sorry?
That's the whole source of water for the whole city?
There's one in
No,
Mansfield.
there's one in
off,
Mansfield, yep.
Balcon Street,
Yep.
right?
Oh, okay.
Yep, they have a, and that's also surface water too, that's not groundwater.
So again, even if we have an agreement in place, we still have to get approval from DEP and
Yeah.
what stipulations they're gonna impose on either municipality for sampling and
Yep.
so it's a process, we're working our way towards that, but it's obviously there for an emergency, but nothing for
Yeah.
long-term as of yet, so baby steps, but we're getting there.
Right. Well, I guess, as I remember the discussions with Taunton, it's, I don't know if it's first and foremost, but it's certainly a consideration to think about the money, because what Taunton wanted to charge us to provide water was more than our residents are paying for water.
Right.
So every gallon that we use from them would make us a little bit more upside down, and to do it on a volume is somewhat suicidal.
Sure.
And you were gonna be charged the highest rate based on the highest
The
use.
biggest, I don't know what you call them, tier or category.
Right.
So I guess if, I wouldn't be opposed to meeting with Attleboro if that's what they would like, but if they could just shoot us an email or give us a rate quote,
Numbers, yeah.
or something
Sure.
as far, because
Yep.
I don't wanna burn a whole lot of time. I'm okay with exercising the valves if you
Right,
see it
right.
as a structural or
Right.
infrastructure thing,
Right.
but it's always about the money.
Mhm.
So let's look at what they would eventually request for payment
Sure.
for cubic feet, or however, 1,000 cubic feet, whatever unit you wanna buy. And that can either encourage the next step, or can say we got gate valves if we really, really need it, and we'll go. Because I can just, we can grab a couple more vending machines and put them all over the place if we want expensive, beautiful water, that's easy. A couple of extension cords and 5-gallon pails, we're all set.
Right.
We got the most expensive vending machine coming up pretty soon.
We got that one?
Yeah.
Yep,
All right, good.
Except that they can't, unless, you're not gonna go down there to get it.
that's a good point.
It gets delivered to
No
their
five,
house.
5-gallon buckets.
Right.
We got people bringing it.
Save gas.
Limit of, jeez.
Now that you mention it, I've seen people with 3 5s.
I don't think I had that back, no?
No.
There?
We
Size of it,
didn't,
so out there
we,
with
no,
trucks
we
moving?
didn't, we
We
thought
talked
that
about
the
it.
downside was huge to put up signs or whatever, but
Yeah.
I've witnessed the multiple 5 people,
Really?
or
Yeah.
6, or whatever that,
The
the
cowboys or
big, the
whatever.
big one is, the square thing that flips over
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I have it at my
5s.
house, and when it runs out, we have another one, I don't,
Right.
You know where the water comes from?
no, I mean, I don't want 8 of them hanging around,
Right.
I don't know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, there's been multiple
State fairs or
times.
something to getting free water from Norton, I don't know what's going on,
Yeah,
but.
a lot of our employees, I've asked them to go by, they fill
Yeah.
up their jugs
Oh, yeah.
anyway.
No, it's
go by,
it's
but
beautiful.
To make sure that it's not growing algae. Because
Right.
we've had some complaints in the past.
There's no algae, this stuff's flying.
It's flying out, it is.
It's
Yeah.
flying, and I'm
Yeah.
cool with that. I like the use. It's just like we said about the generator. If you've got a machine that produces water, we want it
We wanna
filtering
use
water.
it, right.
Yeah.
We have it for a reason. I'm glad people are using it. I just don't want it abused.
Right. I
I
haven't
hope they're not
received.
filling swimming pools with it or
I
some
hope
crazy
not.
thing.
Yeah, I've had no more calls.
Well, hey, whatever,
People
you know,
showing
it's
up,
free.
it's not working, so I think the small
Well, I think
improvements
it was
that
that
they made
problem during the
during the
winter
winter.
that we had, yeah.
I think it slowed down during the winter as they
Yep.
explained, and
Froze
So-
out stuff, yeah.
yeah, the freeze up and everything else, we're having some issues with the machine, so far so good. That's all I have for you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Frank.
So, we move merrily over to Weston and Sampson.
So, where do we begin? The West Main Street is probably the best.
So,
Yeah, this is the most important. 2 weeks ago, the public meeting I thought was very well attended. People were really good. They asked really good questions, and I think they all got answers. I don't think we left there with people thinking, not understanding what was going to happen. I was kind of shocked that there was not as much questions about costs, because those are issues, and as we said before, decisions you guys are going to have to make as a board on how to assess, and there may be some specific ones as well based on your rules and regs. And also remember that these rules and regs were done 8 years ago, when the last real sewer project you did was Winnicott before that.
Yeah.
So we're kind of working with, tying things to Winnicott, how that worked, and the rates and everything else. But things have changed since then. The state laws have changed. So you guys have a lot more flexibility now than or the previous board had when they assessed the betterments of Winnicott. But the number was the number, and it was thrown out and didn't seem to fall on, angry ears. People understood that it's, kind of an insurance policy. And I also didn't sense there were a lot of people too angry anyway, that they had a, 5 years to tie in, to make use of the system. Because obviously, if you're gonna build it, you want people to use it.
Right.
And 5 years is probably as long as you're gonna see any town do. There are some towns out there that don't require it at all. But as you may recall, previously, we got a 2-year tie-in requirement on the books. And that was because, in reality, there was so much sewering done around the reservoir, and using state and federal money, they wanted people to use it. So that was something that had been used and had been enforced, and then that got changed. So it's that 5-year requirement now. So some of the things and maybe it's worth a work session to talk, not tonight, but to have a work session just to talk about financing, what you can do, what your options are, issues of interest rate needs to be decided. Because in the old days, not that long ago, 3 years ago,
Right.
you had two options. You either charged 5% as a flat fee, or 2% on top of the bond rate. So if you got a 2% loan, you had to charge 4. So in reality, you only had two options, like 4 or 5 if you're dealing with a 2% loan. The other issue you got to deal with is two ways of making the payment. It's either constant principal declining interest, meaning say it's $1 million divided by 20 years, maybe. That's a crazy number, but that's not even what I shouldn't use that. Let's say $10,000 over 20 years, so that's $500 a year, and the interest drops based on what the remaining balance is. So, or you can treat it like a mortgage, and it's straight across. But obviously, they're paying off more interest up front and more principal later. But those are our options you now have under the law, and based on what you guys adopted at town meeting. You actually adopted the state law that gives you that flexibility now. And there's other things too that, deal with multifamily homes. You got some latitude, things you can do, but it's up to the board. So there's some discretion here on what, how it's gonna be paid. I think some decisions have been made already. I believe you wanna charge lower interest rates if possible. If you're getting a 2% loan, you still need to cover some costs that you would talk maybe 2.5% to 3% with the two numbers, rather than 4 or 5% that had been charged before. There's also the term 20 years must still make sense, and this, like I said, there's some other decisions you can make. I also believe you don't want to charge basically estimated betterments, because those under the law you can do that, and you can charge right up front. The day the construction begins, if you have contracts, a certain amount of money, you can charge 50% of those costs right up front, if you so desire. So there's some things that need to be done there. But I think it makes some sense to do that. Now let's fast forward to the project. And as you know, we opened bids. The low bidder was Rockio Construction. You had 3 bidders. And we've been scrambling a little bit to try to get everything done that needs to be done. And the two big issues were, number one, the easement work took a fair amount longer than we wanted to get done the legal work part of it. And about a week and a half ago, Attorney Cove finished all the work and was able to sign off that you have the easements. And as you know, the only 2 areas we've got easements are, number one, the housing authority property, where the pump station is going to be, and a pipeline heading in off the street. And the other one is Fillmore Drive. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are your easements. So that's done, taken care of, sign off is there. Now we get to the fun one, Mass DOT, and dealing with that permitting process. I say fun kind of like sarcastically, because it has not been easy. And we really, truly need that permit in order for DEP to issue the permission to award the contract. Meeting today, this afternoon, we had actually a fairly long conversation on the phone yesterday. We've been talking to them on the phone. It's been a long time back and forth with them. There's a lot of concern about the intersection of 123 and 140 and traffic control. And although we made initial submissions that were very detailed and showed piece by piece, they kind of rejected that. We made a standard DOT submission on traffic management, and then we believe it or not, progressed to go back to what we had submitted before.
Excellent.
Back to the future maybe kind of thing. So we're back where we were, and that's what the meeting was about today. And we are going to, we've been assured we will have a state highway permit for the project by Thursday. It's
Very
coming.
good.
So it's gonna happen.
Very good.
That's what happened
Just
today.
in the nick of time, huh?
Good things come to those who wait.
Exactly, very nick of time.
Yeah.
Now
So
there's,
night work, did that alleviate some of the traffic concerns that the SDOT had?
night work is gonna be written into the permit.
Or did it alleviate the concerns that they have with traffic, because there'll be a lot less traffic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're still gonna be looking at probably, at least in that intersection anyway, 3 traffic folks, all, at all the time when we're in that area.
Yeah.
We have no
Quick
choice.
though.
Yeah, and it's all been set up and
It's
is,
3 arteries, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not,
No.
it's,
we have to have 3.
it's, they're not making us have 6.
No,
It's 3,
it's 3,
because you need, it's justifiable to have 3.
as far as the
There was
3.
an episode shot in Norwood recently where I work, and they had literally 5 police officers set up in stations
Really?
down the street, just they leave out and go back in, and there's another cop up here, and they go back out again.
Well,
So-
Was this Route 1?
No, it was the side street off of Route 1.
well, that
Really?
could,
Yeah.
a lot of those
Because
are,
they were doing manholes like separated. by-
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, a lot of those are cut-through streets up there for commuters.
Yeah.
And if like phase 1 is, well, phase 2 of our construction on West Main could be 2 crews. So conceivably, you could have 3 at the,
At each
3,
one.
we'll call it the octopus.
Right.
And then you could have at least 2 more, so there's 5
Yeah,
down,
you're right. It's
down,
all within half a mile.
because
Quarter
it's
mile.
a staged, I
Yeah.
mean, halfway is half,
Yeah,
that's
true.
quite a ways away, so.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not a big fan of the, over detailing, but this is a
Definitely
major
is.
commuter,
We need it though, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And the lack of attention people pay to while driving is just
Very full.
declining at an increasing rate.
It is.
It's bad, so.
It's can be dangerous.
Yep.
Very dangerous.
Oh, it
You
is.
know, it's dangerous for the contractors
Everybody.
and
The
it's even the
police,
police details.
The workers, the other,
You know,
the
people
other
are,
drivers, it's crazy.
yeah, they don't pay attention.
Nope.
So, so in any case, that's all the good news. However, there's always a however.
There's a but.
There's always a but. And it's a big but.
I like big butts, but I don't know why.
I'll try to minimize the but part. There's a couple of things that need to be done, and we're getting really kind of mixed responses from Mass DEP. They're pushing, and this makes absolutely no sense, so I've got to talk to the guy that used to be in charge of the SR program, because it makes no sense. They're basically telling us they want the contract between Norton and the contractor signed before they give the permission to award, or simultaneously, and I'm going, this makes absolutely no sense. If the process is, you send out the letter of intent to award, you send it to DEP, you get all the information back from the contractor, the signed contracts, his bond information, insurance information, M and WPE stuff that they've got to do, all those submissions are done. And then, all that stuff goes into DEP, and then DEP issues a letter saying, you can award the contract, and then it gets signed officially. Well, for some reason, right now, they're saying, kind of advance that, but I've got to talk, there's been a shift in,
Isn't it worth just asking Rokio if they would sign? I know I've never done this before, am I naive in saying that?
this is more about DEP. This is
Okay.
more about DEP, and there's a lot of new people now.
Sure.
And the head of the SRF program at DEP that was there for 20 years ended his stint about 3 months ago, 4
Uh-huh.
months ago. There's a brand new person in charge who never worked with the SRF program before. So things are kind of in a little bit of upheaval right now, and some of the things that are coming out could be not right. So my goal tomorrow is to talk to the head guy to make sure we need to know exactly what needs to happen. So my point is, as far as this board executing that contract, the goal could be, may still be, by the end of the week, to
Awesome.
get it done,
Yeah.
okay? And I may
Is
need,
Frank authorized
I may-
signatures or do?
you three are on to sign this contract.
Legit, all
The
right.
the commission is on to sign. And you may wanna just take a vote to, if everything's in order, to execute that contract with Rockio. If we're gonna make a phone call and you guys can come in and have to sign it, I want you guys to have that, the ability to do that, because it would be a damn
Are
shame.
you around?
This week? Absolutely.
Hang on.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So
Cell phone, right?
that's, yeah.
we can do that, okay. The other part is, there's another,
And I gotta reiterate, not for, maybe sometimes there's a reason, but I don't, if they want the signed document from Rockio, or chicken, egg, who cares about where it came from or how it
and
gets
when.
there?
And as long as it's dated, it should be dated after you're, literally, after
Yeah.
they say yes, award.
Right.
And then the date is the same date or a day after.
Right.
That's all.
Somebody's trying to maybe put their stamp on their new position, I don't know what's going on.
It
but-
just doesn't make
Oh,
sense.
yeah, no.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It's
Just
2019, Frank, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense.
I know. So,
It's crazy.
speaking of other things that may not make too much sense,
We got another one.
same issue,
Uh-huh.
but different day. We delivered, I guess a month ago, a construction services contract to provide oversight of the construction. The commission voted it, signed it, and it's kind of sort of been sitting. That contract needs to be executed, so it's an enforceable contract, and submitted to DEP as part of them, that whole permission to award. I've talked to Mike Eunice about what's what I'm looking for? Speeding up the process of expediting, yeah, brain
Where's
cramp.
it been, oh, it's been sitting on his desk.
It's not his desk, it's
on my
sitting
desk.
on the treasurer's desk.
How
And,
long?
I've asked him to step in and to
Okay.
expedite the process.
Okay.
Yesterday, he assured me that he would, because he understands that it is very important.
Yep.
And I explained to him what's at risk here. And the reason this week now is at the end of the fiscal year, it's critical,
Right.
is that there's the potential, if this thing is not finalized this week,
Yep.
the principal forgiveness that you guys are
Right.
entitled to get could go away.
Yep.
So we're talking around $100,000.
Yeah,
That could
Frank,
go
can
away.
you physically go there to the office of the town manager tomorrow?
I
and-
believe I have that contract on my desk, actually.
All right,
because
He
was-
has
was-
it, or she has it too.
She does have, okay.
She has it.
All right.
and
Yeah.
politely request him to accompany you to.
Frank and I talked about this yesterday,
All right.
and I said I would talk to Mike
All right.
to make sure that he understood this,
Get it done tomorrow then?
how important it is. That's
Good.
all. And he knows, he gets it.
All right.
Just telling you because it really does in fact need to be done.
Mm.
So with that, we could have a contract signed, and then the next step would be even though we've already had a pre-construction conference here on the project, we need to have another one with DOT. So, and then not only the permitting people, but it's the field people, and then things change. As soon as the permitting people are done, the field people or construction people are involved, and things will change, just so you know. That's just how
Okay.
it works.
Will there be DOT oversight at all
Yes.
on this?
Yep, yeah, they'll have a project manager or a construction engineer assigned, but they're oftentimes have multiple projects, so you're never quite sure when they're gonna be here, but they'll be here. And like I said, they're the ones that can, if things are working very smoothly, they could change things. I'll give you, for instance, the town of Easton with their Five Corners sewer project on 106.
But every day.
Right, it's gonna be very busy, lots of detours, but the previous one, the first one was at 138, 123.
Right.
They started out, the time frame for construction was 9 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's what they started with. Well, at the end of it, posted on the town's website, 6:30 to 4:30. Ended up being the time frame.
10
Same
hours.
job,
Yeah.
same job,
Wow.
Yeah.
6 to 10. That's wild.
yeah, exactly. So that does happen. So, and if things are going smoothly, that kind of flexibility is built into the system with the construction people.
Okay.
So that's West Main. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to focus on. I probably need to look back at your contract with the Housing Authority. I believe that one of the things we kept in that agreement was the connection fee of, was it $238.5, I think, or $35.8? I can't remember which one. Dyslexic. Around $235,000 is supposed to be paid up front, the
Right.
connection fee.
That's true.
So we need to talk about getting a bill together for that, once that contract is signed and people are moving. Other than that, I think we're good. So other things going on, couple of things. Frank, you're meeting tomorrow with Tara from our office and Keith, talking about homes in East Maine, the water main job.
Yep.
Talk about paving and paving
How about
requirements.
Oak Street? Is it anybody down Oak Street? I'm not Oak Street.
Reservoir.
Reservoir. Ripping, nice, crazy good, yeah.
Well, there's other issues that are still there, but there's some issues with a couple of hydrants, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be taken care of, or looked at anyway, July 2nd. The
Right.
representative from AVK is coming out.
Hydrants themselves?
Yes, there's an issue with two of the hydrants that we used, for some reason, are 2016 hydrants instead of 2018 hydrants. So during the flushing program, being a new main, I instructed the guys that were out at that night to flush every hydrant, which is not a normal practice on that road.
New Maine.
Wanted to make sure we had everything out, make sure the hydrants are operational. Those two older year hydrants chattered so bad that they were unable to operate the hydrants, so they shut them down, bagged them, put them out of service. We notified Gravity, had Tom from Gravity come back out and Jim Arago from Western Sampson go out, and neither one of them have ever seen anything operate the way that these two hydrants do. So he contacted the manufacturer, explained the situation, and surprisingly they knew about an issue with
Yeah, of
the
course they
hydrant.
did.
They're bringing a kit and they're gonna dismantle
Do
both
we have
hydrants.
any more of them in town?
We have plenty of AVKs in town. I don't know about the model year
That generation?
2016. If it's, we're gonna find out if it's limited to that year of production,
Yeah.
or it was a bad
While they're
batch.
here, they might as well do 300 of them.
Right,
Well, I
So
mean,
there's
You
a-
know,
there's
I don't want
retro-
them coming out for nothing. We're
Exactly.
another
right. We
mobilization.
wanna know what
Right.
is the cause of it,
Yeah.
you know, and is it something that's gonna be a concern? Because that has been our go-to hydrant for wet locations, being that it's all stainless steel insert.
All right.
So, you know, instead of having issues with other hydrants rotting away by sitting in groundwater,
All right.
you know, we've had to repair some hydrants that were, you know, 5 or 6 years old, that the foot has rotted away, and you get the same problem with the chatter and the slamming of the hydrant, and that was another brand, so we decided to pay a little more for the stainless steel guts on the hydrant, that it won't be affected, and now we, you know, knock on wood, everything's been great until these two. So whether they were improperly stored, or there was something.
Built on a Friday.
Right, yeah, so we should know more once the company comes out and looks at them.
That's wild.
We still hold their, I believe, it's either 5% or 1% from that project.
5.
So until this is rectified, that doesn't go anywhere. And
Yeah, it may not even be Gravity, because they're assembling what could be manufactured defect
Yes,
items.
yep,
So
exactly.
there's, who knows?
Right, it may not be their fault.
You know what I mean?
There's a course to go after the manufacturer themselves. So
Right, yeah.
find out, and they don't-
can we ask, when they do come out, can we ask if we do have other hydrants from that era that do this, are they gonna
If they'll supply
step
a
up?
kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So still on homes in East Maine, we're looking at finish discussing the paving issue, and bid opening likely to be the first week in August. And it's a small job, so should be able to get done very easily this construction season.
See estimated value.
What's that?
I just don't remember what's the estimated value on that job. You know,
I don't
yeah,
remember.
Yeah, just curious.
Pine, I believe, for some reason, 2.7 million is.
Pine
in
is
my
the big
head.
one, right.
So what's
And
the
I
homes
think
there?
Homes
Holmes was
a lot less.
570,000.
Yeah, I would say
believe,
600.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah.
Just so you remember, you have to have these numbers at the tip of your tongue anytime, day or night.
I remember
For
that.
anybody who comes up at a coffee shop and asks you, what
Right.
is all the numbers of the outstanding bids?
Debt.
All of it, all of it.
Right. I remember hearing that question somewhere, I don't remember
Yeah.
where.
You should carry the next card of your.
No index cards, you've gotta just know this. No,
That
no
August
back of the hand, no
Was that Holmes or
laptops.
Pine?
That was Holmes.
That was home, okay.
Right.
Cool.
Couple other things, the master plan,
Yes.
all wrapping up the work this week. Internal TRC or technical review next week, and draft to the town the week of July 8th. I'll draft the report.
Excellent.
So,
Is that the,
so that's, and I wrote next to that, Scott will be happy.
I would very happy. If you want to know about the
Look at him, fly follow-up questions, what do you got
No,
there?
it's true.
Come on.
Mark, I mean, the finance part as
Yeah.
well, I'll be good.
Yep, yeah, so, oh, and Mark, by the way, was supposed to come to your meeting 2 weeks ago. He didn't because you had the hearing. He was not available to come tonight. He had told us the schedule, so if we can get him scheduled to come in 2 weeks from now, yeah, we'll get a lot of things to get done. Yeah,
On time for the new year.
yeah, new fiscal year,
Yep.
right.
Fresh start.
And I think that's all that's important. Well, 5 and 6 contract was signed, and I guess the money issue's been resolved and where the funds are coming from.
Yep, that's
and
taken care of and
All been
signed off.
authorized, the permitting and the drilling.
Mhm.
And that's really, I think that's all we have.
Yeah, I know Scott was asking if we knew a time when that was gonna start for the drilling.
The drilling,
Yeah, but now you've.
we gotta do, we're gonna talk to Jen
Oh,
to
it's
make
the well
sure, just to make sure,
issue.
okay.
Right.
Well, drilling in general is a somewhat,
It shouldn't be an issue,
It's not
right?
exhaustive, it's articles, it's limited amount of.
Unless, you know, like,
I mean, there's already store wattles and silt fencing in place down there from,
Right.
from the directional bore that was done down there.
determination of applicability, maybe, maybe not even that, depending on what we have. But we're gonna talk, in fact, Tara's gonna, well, she's in tomorrow, I think, she's gonna try to
I
see
think she
Jen
said
as
she was
well,
gonna try and do it as well, yeah.
to deal with that issue so the drilling can proceed.
Right. I know you have a lot on your plate this week, so I'm not worried about it now, but at some point in the next month, can we come up with a timeline of what the steps are gonna be for the ultimate opening?
Of the plant,
Distribution of water and like what steps have to happen and when, something that we can possibly post or, you know, relay to people they ask.
just remember, 2 weeks ago, I had no-cost change orders approved to delay things just because of the
Yes, I know.
summertime and the fall.
As long as
So
it's in
we're
the meeting,
com-
so people will know. Yeah.
Right, there'll be plenty of time to get that notice out.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we have to, I had a meeting down there today, and the next step is actually gonna reach out to DEP and find out what they're gonna grant for water going to waste, because there's a stipulation for a certain amount of runtime to prove the plant, and this water has to go to waste. The amount of water that's gonna go to waste is gonna overtake the settling
Okay.
basins that will be in place. So there has to be some type of stipulation on where this
Throttling.
water is gonna go, if we can throttle it, if we can do it, you know, break it up into different amount of time. I believe it was, and this is just trying to think, 8 hours per well pumped into the system, so that'd be 32 hours total, all 3 wells running, and if that's at full capacity of a
That's 24.
2.5 MGD
three
plant,
wells or 4 wells?
3 wells.
24.
8 is 24, not 32.
Oh, all right, my wrong.
It's all right, it's a lot less water.
It is a lot less water, but it's still a ton of water.
It's still a lot.
No,
Figures
that's
can
fine.
lie, figures can lie,
It's still a
liars can
ton of
figure. I was
water.
going, I'm like, well, we're gonna minimize the water, hey, you got an extra well in there, that's only 3 wells. I
Maybe it's
just
one I
saved
don't
you
know
a lot
about.
of water.
Unless we're gonna sneak another one in somehow.
Yeah,
We could try.
They're well
Don't
down.
jump the gun yet. That's the plan.
So there's a lot of steps to jump through with DEP and find out. I've heard that in the past, they've granted approval to have half of it go to waste, half of it go to the system, because now you've proved that your system is working, and that would be our best scenario.
You know the pitch, it's our summer well production is down.
Right.
We have limited water anyway, and the plant is needed.
Yes.
Right.
It's
I'm
not-
sure
We're not
that,
doing plant number 8, this is
Right,
number 1.
right.
This is the only
Can
one.
we just use the plant which we're, and maybe logic prevails and they say, you know what, after a little while, sure.
Can only hope.
Yep.
Right.
That's it.
Thanks, Frank.
Very nice.
Other agenda items?
Any,
I got nothing.
You got
no
nothing.
spreadsheets that you did
I'm happy now.
since last week? You did
That's
it.
right, yeah,
You
we
did
did well.
it. Come, he's gone. I'm all set.
Well, look, I gotta do a little private shout out here.
Oh, all right.
I would like to make a motion to have Steve sign all the bills going forward.
Nice. You gotta get him a stamp.
Nice.
Don't miss any, I'll get yelled at.
Zobrio. What the hell is that?
You're getting down to the end.
What the hell is Zobrio?
We do it in Concom actually, where one person can sign it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
They vote to give them authorization to do it, and then they do it once a week, and
Well,
just saying.
I think he's trying to get out of it.
How's Rose doing, by the way? She doing all right?
She's on vacation.
Is she really?
Yes.
it's the end of the fiscal year, she's gonna take a couple of
Gotta take it or lose it.
little vacation days.
I will
Can we
actually
take it
be
tomorrow,
out.
Frank, that deal with move forward, just come out and sign, or? we can-
I'll have to get word out to you. Yeah, I'll have to get the word out.
This is
Um,
this is a
I'm
water
thinking-
sewer commission everybody signs.
I'm guessing it's 50/50,
Since I'm not in charge, I guess I have to agree.
50/50 whether that has to happen right now. I really need to talk to the guy who was in charge for 20 years to say, is this really what's going on now? Because
So close now.
he basically said he's now the CFO of all of DEP, but he basically told me he's gonna have one leg kind of back in the position, and just to make sure that something really crazy hasn't changed. And we can, if that's the case, we're not gonna have to, you guys are not gonna have to make a mad dash to get the seaside. But it's,
We get out the treasurer's desk tomorrow, right?
We'll try.
yeah.
I said I sent that copy of that off to KP Law. That was May 29th that it was sent off. Still never heard
Really?
back. Yeah. We signed it, I think it was April 24th.
I asked Mike, and because now those contracts don't go to Dave Dineski anymore,
Right.
and I asked him why.
It goes to Lauren.
as Lauren Goldberg, and she's the lead attorney for the town, for KP, and he basically said it's more corporate protocol, so it goes from her to her to hand
How
off.
it gets passed
I'm a
on.
coordinator of motions.
Do you have the minutes from the last meeting?
the first one.
That open meeting that we had?
Second, it was the library, it's the book of the meeting minutes.
This one?
Yes. I'd like to propose a motion to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2019, as presented,
Second.
as signed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are passed.
That's all. So this is all June 11th, right? Okay. Okay.
So you guys know where your 20 minutes, I can do a motion to adjourn.
You do whatever you're comfortable. We can actually adjourn.
Yeah, we can.
want a motion?
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, people.
Scott, you want the key?